speaking of existential questions that are currently being debated across the world, and that has to do with how these models are being trained, whether publishers actually have a say, have a share as far as the revenues are concerned, litigation underway in different parts of the world, including here in India. What do you believe the future should be? What do you believe should be fair as the way forward?
I don't think it's okay to steal from anyone. Like, these Gen AI engines that are taking publishers' content.
You're using a strong word, so you do believe this is stealing?
Oh, that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, if you take something from someone without their consent, that's called stealing. But if you do it the second time or third time, that you can't be evil for a long time. You can be evil for a little bit of time, because then you can maybe argue it was a mistake. But if you keep doing the same thing again and again, that's just long-term evilness. And that's not okay. I mean, so I look at those companies, some of them get away with it because they're too big to fight with. But otherwise, the smaller ones, I think, who knows how it's going to end. It's going to be probably a big legal trophy, perhaps, on the other side of it. But it's not okay to take content without agreeing consent. It's not okay to not send traffic back. And look at those tiny little icons. You go to those Gen AI engines, you ask a question, and there's this tiny little gray button that, unless you have a telescope, you can never see it. And the click-through rate is probably 0.1%. That is not called, let's send traffic to the open web and get consumers to learn more. So that's...
No one's even clicking on those buttons, right?
I'm sure it's less. I mean, I'm sure it's insignificant through non-existence. So you're taking content without consent. You're not sending traffic. You don't pay most, you pay some, right? So I think that is not a recipe for success, so it's going to change. However, history already proven that we can't really negotiate with these tech companies sustainably. We may get...
Yeah, the power balance is completely in their favor,
Again, we've seen this before. When search happened, we didn't really know if we're going to get more search or less search. When instant article happened with Facebook about 10 years ago, it was a huge success, then a huge failure, and then it stopped because it was not great for publishers. Hosting a piece of content on Facebook was a problem. So at first we did it because how could we say no? Then we realized we're not getting traffic. Then we realized we're not being paid. Then we sued them.
We're pretty much in that phase right now, aren't we?
Exactly. And what I hope actually, those Gen AI engines, what I hope they learn, or at least consider, if I want to be humble, because they've done amazing work. I mean, I'm not taking away from the value they created for consumers, for investors, for themselves. Kudos on them. But what I hope they take, if they have a really good friend, like Kendrick Lamar said, sit down and be humble.
I never thought we'd have Kendrick Lamar be quoted.
You have to include some proper hip hop in this conversation, So if you want to sit down and just be humble, let me just suggest that if there's ever a lesson to be learned from the Metas and the Googles, is that if you can give a lot back, like if you can over-index on giving back to the ecosystem that is building you, you have a better chance to be here forever.
But that's not the model.
Yet. And I don't know what
will change it? What will force them to change the model?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting how, big becomes bigger and we never see those decisions made. My guess is that, the companies that are not the OpenAIs will have a much bigger challenge because, again, it's a very expensive business. They may be sued by everyone, and I don't know how that story ends for some of the smaller ones. The OpenAIs of the world, I mean, I am hopeful that there's a lesson to be learned from social media decisions over the last 2 decades, and they will say that content that fuels our engine, those consumers that are coming to us and expect trust, is a leg in that table that we operate. And we have to think about how we support not a few, not a lot, but perhaps everyone. So, and I will tell you, in the absence of them doing it, I intend to do it. So until that happens, if it ever happens, Taboola, as at least in our mind, the Robin Hood of the open web type of thing, we will work extremely hard to make sure that every consumer landing on a publisher gets the best experience so they can converse, learn, and eventually decide, on the open web.
You know, one of the other things I want to talk to you about is being a listed entity, being a listed company. And I think that's something that many Indian startup founders today are considering. Many have taken this path. In fact, this has been a blockbuster year as far as IPOs are concerned. India is now being considered an IPO factory. But what's been the experience for you as a listed entity? Many feel that it brings in constraints. Some feel it gives you the discipline and the rigor. President Trump believes that it actually constrains innovation because you have to go out there and report quarter on quarter. How do you see it?
I like it more than I don't. Obviously, there are things that are, they take time that beforehand I didn't have to do. However, over time, especially if your company is, doing well, and we're very fortunate. I look at 2025. We've been beat and raise every quarter.
You've upped your guidance as well.
Yeah. So I think when you're off to a good journey, and I think when you set expectation properly with the market, then you don't have to act differently than you would have behaved as a private company. And then you have advantages. You have currency, which you can use for different things. Maybe some partners of yours are happy to see that you're worth $1 billion, $2, $3 billion, and because they think you'll never go away, so they can rely on you. So I think that helps them to see your true colors, because they can see your earnings, they can see your free cash flow generation, they can see your investments. So I think those things are great because it's even a higher degree of transparency, which I love. Also, it keeps you humble because as a management, as in a company, the market over time is perfect. If you grow, if you generate good EBITDA margins, if you generate free cash flow, which allows you to buy shares, allows you to grow. I mean, look at India. We're about 200 people in India serving all of Taboola around the world. How lucky are we that we get to invest? It's because we run a great business.
You talk about India. Let's get to understand how you see India, how you see the trends emerging in India, shaping the Indian publishing ecosystem. How different is the India story in comparison to some of the other markets that you're servicing today?
Well, there is the obvious, and then there is the more nuanced that people I'm not sure understand as deeply as we do working in India for so long. Obviously, India is a big market. So that matters to, and it's the 4th largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
It's the 2nd largest e-commerce market in the world. If you're missing those stats and you run a business, I don't know what you're doing. When I started Taboola, America was the market you could have not missed. You had to be big in America and then the rest of the world. India is at that stage now. You cannot be not successful in India and then the rest of the world because of the size and potential, at the very least, much like the GDP in the US. Saying that, there's something special about India that is even more unique, especially where we are now. One, culturally, like if you're listening to this, at least my opinion is that culture is innovation. I do not believe that if someone gave you money and that person is a famous investor, you have a better chance to succeed. I do not believe that if you're famous for any reason, you have a better chance to succeed. I do not believe that if you went to a great school, necessarily you have a better chance to succeed. It's your madness, passion, empathy, and a group of people that gives you an one up on someone else. And when we work in India with incredible group of companies, the way they adopt technology, want to innovate, not afraid to fail, is unique. It is not by chance that every time Taboola comes with a new product, our new feed product, which we copied from Instagram 10 years ago, and we brought the feed experience to the open web, India was first. When we brought personalization for the homepage, the first market that publishers said, yeah, we can do it, India. And now when we launched Deeper Dive, which was, LLM, editorial environment, the first market for us in Asia was India. There's no coincidence in business. Things happen for a reason, especially over time. So I think from a cultural perspective, as a technology AI company, it's crucial to be surrounded by people that want you to succeed, are okay failing with you fast, and try again the next day. So that is a cultural advantage India has. And then from the consumer perspective, over 60% of people use all of India, use AI every single day.
Yeah.
We talked about e-commerce, massive e-commerce adoption, and that's the biggest segment of performance advertising growing, e-commerce. So, and we just talked about LLM perhaps reinventing the interface of the internet, creating a much better ARPU for consumers, from clicks to transactions. We just talked about it. So let's say we're right. let's say LLM is really a big deal, that Sam is onto something, and that open web will adopt this technology, and we're on. Let's say that in a year from now you'll consider inviting me again. Well, you may never want to see me again, but let's say you do, and we have this conversation. Let's say we're right, and there's a big upside here. I think the biggest adoption of that technology will come from India.
We're already seeing that.
Look, Perplexity's largest audience is in India.
ChatGPT,
not a coincidence, and that's why. If we are right, and AI is a big deal, India is a big deal.
So what is the impact that you believe Taboola can make over the next 5 years? What would make you happy in terms of what you've been able to achieve in the next 5 years? What does that vision board look like?
I mean, I hope that advertisers can succeed beyond Google and Facebook, and I hope journalism doubles and triples. If Mark Zuckerberg monetized the open web would be 5 times the size. Because he's amazing at monetizing, and he's great at getting 10 million advertisers, and he's amazing at building technologies. He's not doing it, we're going to do it. So I hope the open web and journalism succeeds in ways we've never seen before, and we'll see a birth of new companies that can represent voice that matters in the world of AI and social media.
Absolutely. We look forward to that, Adam. It's been an absolute pleasure and a lot of fun chatting with you. Thanks so much for dropping into our studios and joining us here on the Young Turks Reloaded podcast. We look forward to more conversation with you, and hopefully we will know in time the answers to those important, complex questions and whether you're on the right side of them or not. But we look forward to having you back in the studio. Thanks very much. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Young Turks Reloaded podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, send us your feedback. We always like to hear from you, from all of us here on the team. For now, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.